Hi, everyone. Thank you all for joining today. It looks like it's 12 o'clock on the dot. If you haven't already, please go ahead and mute your microphones and disable your video. That would be greatly appreciated. I'm going to go ahead and kick things off since it looks like we've got a majority of the people that have registered. So thank you again. My name is Mackenzie. I serve our guidebook partners as our senior account manager. If I haven't met you yet, it's great to virtually meet you. I'm excited to share my expertise based on some of my clients' use of our platform, as well as best practices per some industry norms. In this session today, I'll highlight a few key aspects of the guidebook platform that will hopefully help elevate your virtual event experience for your audience. Just as a quick reminder, please submit your questions via the chat box through Zoom directly. Time willing, we'll try to answer those questions after the walkthrough. Just so you're aware, we are more than happy to continue the conversation after today. So please do reach out to your account manager or send an email to sales@guidebook.com after today's demo and let us know how we can best support you guys. So to kick things off, I want to acknowledge that I understand that we are all starting to adjust to the more virtual lifestyle. And it's important to refamiliarize ourselves with the tools available to us and consider how to use those technologies a little bit more effectively. And while recent circumstances have definitely prompted a significant push towards those virtual events, Guidebook has actually supported virtual events for a number of years now. Our clients utilize the platform for virtual events much as they would for those live events. And our platform is that central information hub and engagement tool for their audiences before, during, and after those events. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and dive into a demo so that we can highlight those tools directly. So bear with me, I'm going to cancel out of this. And can everyone or someone in the chat just confirm that they can see my screen? Okay, perfect. So what I want to do, on the screen, I've got my iPhone simulator. So this is going to portray what we would see on the end user side of things on the app. And then on the right, you'll see our builder content management system. So this is where all the editing and building would take place for your guide on the left. So today, I really want to focus and showcase 4 core elements that will support a virtual event and the features that tie to each of those. So to start, I want to list off those 4 and then we'll dive into the specific features that tie. So user engagement, list creation, scheduling, and sponsorship visibility. So let's start with probably the most important aspect, which is user engagement. And that feature that I want to highlight that really dives into user engagement to its core is a feature we call Interact. And so on my screen at the very top, you'll see that first feature. I'm going to click into it and give you kind of an overview and an example and glimpse into like how this setup works. And so at large, Interact is a nurture and vibrant community space for meaningful dialogue and important announcements, as well as notifying users of maybe upcoming and popular sessions that you've got tagged to your schedule. This is also a great opportunity for you to have discussion prompts, maybe posing trivia questions to your users, posting pictures, and really just one-to-one networking. So a common question I get with this Interact feed, as it is a great tool for users to post, I think a lot of clients are fearful that there might be some inappropriate content that's posted. So one of the things on the back end of Builder, which I'm going to show you, is you can actually moderate what users are posting on that Interact feed. And if it's not appropriate or not in line with the content of your event, you can come in here and actually see in real time what users are posting and either delete that individual post, delete all the users' posts, or just remove individual blocked users. So to go back to the Interact feed and focus more around driving that engagement, I really encourage a lot of our clients to encourage their users to post photos on the Interact feed. And so all of the photos that are posted on this feed, as you see we have a couple in here, will be compiled into a consolidated photo album. In this guide specifically, we've actually got a photo album module that I'll pull down here. And if I tap into it, I'll actually see those 3 or however many photos have been posted on the Interact feed consolidated into an album. So this is helpful, especially as maybe an admin or an event manager, maybe even for marketing purposes, because you can actually export all of these photos. So if I go into the backend, I can see in real time, in line with my app, these are the photos that users have posted. And so maybe even after an event, like a post-event message, you guys could have a summary blog post highlighting some of the fun engagement that you had during your event. You could maybe even upload pictures and use it for social media content. However you want, you can use the photo album as a great tool to kind of leverage and engage with your audience after your event. So with folks signing on from home, we understand that we are going to be having to fight a little bit harder for our audience's attention. So that's why it's very important to leverage mobile-specific tools like push notifications, live polls, and surveys. To start, I'm going to show you a couple examples of push notifications, as those are a great way to alert, remind, and notify users during your event. So we were just in the Interact feed, and this is actually a question I get quite frequently. So for a lot of us individuals, we have lots of apps on our phone, and if you, like myself, typically have push notifications disabled, you might not see that alert outside of your phone. But when you are in the app, you'll actually see those push notifications land in your Interact feed. So we have a test here. I think we have a couple down here. We have a Happy Monday. But we also have the ability within our notifications module. You could rename this inbox as well. In here, you actually see those notifications in real time. So like I said, like myself, I have a lot of my push notifications disabled for apps, but I'm still able to get in front of my audience regardless of that being disabled. So a pro tip on the back end for maybe setting these notifications up is setting them up in advance to the event. So if I go back to my builder interface, and I am on my guide dashboard, so this is where kind of like a control panel where everything's taking place for your event. I click on notifications, and I actually have the ability to set these up in advance to the event, so that I can enable them to go out to a specific, maybe a group of users or a specific set of people during a specific day and time. So feel free to queue up as many notifications in advance to save some time during an event. It's as simple as coming in here, clicking compose, adding a title to your notification. So in this example, I've got test, a little bit of a blurb. So right here, I've got my content. And at the bottom, you'll see, does this notification need to go out at a later date? You can hit yes, and you can add a day and time. If you'd like, you can also have it go out to a specific set of users, but that is up to you. Outside of notifying your users, it's also important to gather feedback around your event, a specific presentation, or a session at large. And Guidebook actually enables you to set up surveys and forms to gather that feedback in a quantitative manner and have that survey tool that allows you to customize the kinds of questions you ask and where you ask them within the guide itself. So I'm going to showcase an example of a survey that we have on our main menu. So this is a menu item survey. This is the conference evaluation survey. If I click on it, this is a great opportunity for you to gather high-level feedback for the event at large. If you want, and I'll highlight this later on in the demo, we have a little bit more flexibility around attaching surveys to maybe specific assets in the guide. But for this instance, this is a great example of just gathering some high-level feedback. In here, you'll see a couple different types of questions that we formatted. Everything you see in here can be customized. So the types of questions, the responses, you might only want one question that's open-ended. You can absolutely incorporate that. Everything we have in here is just an example. But on the back end, I'm going to show you where you can manage your surveys and create those. So similar to the notifications, down here at the bottom, you'll see the surveys and polls card. If you click on that, you actually get to see an overview of all of the surveys that we have administered in this guide. So right now I'm collecting responses from 3 of them. At any point in time, and this is probably advantageous after the event, you can go in here and disable and turn off the collecting responses. So this kind of locks in those responses that you were gathering during your event. To kind of highlight how easy it is to edit, change, or tweak questions for your survey. Here's a brief overview of the specific one I'm in right now. So if I go into edit your questions, I come in here, I'll see exactly the format and question I have on the left. If I go down to the bottom, I can hit add new question, that prompt pops up. type in the question, and then I have a drop down of the types of questions I can ask with the different responses. So if you wanted a free form, long response, you could have that. And we just do a test, hit save, and then there you go. You've incorporated a new question to your survey. So that's just a high-level overview of how simple it is to really build out these surveys. Like I mentioned, we've got 3 of them enabled in the guide. I'll be sure to highlight exactly where those are on the demo, but just note the one that we have right now is a menu item survey. This is a great opportunity, kind of like I said, for that high-level overview. And then later we'll dive into the different opportunities to publish and administer your surveys. So we understand that there are definitely lots of ways to drive audience engagements with some of the tools I've already mentioned, and each event is very different. So please reach out to our team as well as your account manager to help customize a strategy that best fits your needs around maybe pushing out different types of push notifications, compiling these different types of surveys. We're here to help, and we also have a great plethora of resources and support articles to align with some of those questions. So moving into our second foundation that I'd mentioned, list creation. So engagement is really important. However, interesting and meaningful content is vital foundation for a successful event. So this is where the Builder platform really shines. And it is important to customize your event app. And a key example of this is a custom list item. And this is probably our most utilized feature in my mind. So I'm going to go back into Builder, so I can show you in line some examples of this. So a custom list, they're great ways to organize your content. In this guide, we actually have a few examples of a custom list, and I want to showcase what each of them look like and some of the differences between them. So right now, we've got a speakers custom list item as well as a sponsors custom list item. I'm going to start off with the speakers and show you the key differences between the two. So if I click in speakers, what you'll first notice is we have this grid view. This is a great demonstration of how you can change up the way you showcase your content. The grid view is a great way to utilize thumbnails or maybe header images that you might have for your speakers or presenters in this list itself. So if I tap on Brian, just kind of overview of like what we can incorporate in here. So we have the text field, you have a name, a title, maybe a bio of who that person is. We can link to sessions that they're speaking at. So for example, if I were to click on the business roundtable, I'm linked to that session within the schedule. I tap back out. I can see we've attached a PDF, so you can attach a PDF or a presentation slides for the specific presenter. A pro tip I would recommend and encourage your presenters in advance or after the presentation or the event at large is to incorporate their PowerPoint so that users are kind of drawn to go back into the guide, driving that engagement. They might have taken notes around it, so adding that as like a resource and tool to them might be low-hanging fruit. Another thing we've done in here is we've also incorporated speaker evaluation. So going back to my point earlier with the surveys, this is the ability to capture a little bit more specific feedback as it relates to a single event or individual. Some speakers and my clients have mentioned have basically, found a lot of value in having that one-to-one feedback from their presentation. Some speakers don't necessarily want that, but offering that or even just having that as an event manager at large might drive value for their presentations down the line. So another thing that you could incorporate, which we don't actually have in this specific example, is a website, so a link to any URL. So maybe Brian has a company, a LinkedIn page, his website. We could link out to that in here as well. It would pop up and be in line with some of these other assets you see at the bottom. So on the back end, I'm actually going to show you what this looks like filled out. So if I click on Brian, it'll look very similar to what we see on the left. And this is just highlighting how easy it is to kind of fill in these assets. Please note a lot of these assets you do see filled out for Brian are optional. Some people might not have all of these assets. That's totally fine. And I'm actually going to show you an example of a custom list item that doesn't have necessarily all of the things plugged in there. If I toggle over to links, in here is where you'll be able to see those sessions that we've tied, incorporating the PDFs. It's as simple of just as clicking this PDF upload or tapping the URL and copy and pasting that URL link. So to tap back into the app, again, if you also had a long list of people, you can come in here and search for the specific user, or you could simply scroll. So in contrary to that list that we just saw, I'm going to show you a same example or similar example of the custom list item, and that is our sponsors list. So the sponsors list is set up with a list view. This is a great option if you have a long list of content or if you don't have thumbnail images. It's really a personal preference. The content within the custom list item will have the same functionality. So as you can see with this list, if I click on Amazon, you'll see we just have a lot of text, which is completely fine. A lot of groups, if you do have sponsors, you know, they copy and paste the blurb. That's totally doable. I would encourage, especially if you do have sponsors, to maybe link out to their website just to drive a little bit more traffic and eyeballs to what they're promoting. So this, I'm going to pop back into Builder. So if we're in the Sponsors tab, and I click on Amazon, just to give you a comparison of what that looks like in real time, we've really just filled in this description text field. We've added a platinum sponsor title, and then we've incorporated the name. So if I wanted to, for example, link to their website, I could come in here and just type URL. So now one question I always get is how do we change that view between the speakers and sponsors with that card and that grid view between the list view? It's as simple as going to the settings within your custom list. At the bottom, you'll see this display as, and it's as simple as toggling between the two. So this is the list view, this is the grid view, and then we simply hit save. So if you have a lot of content, which some groups do, in this example, we have 10 items of content within this list. And that's totally manageable to come in here and individually add new. Or my recommendation, if you do have 20 or more, is to use our import from file custom list template. And so what that is, if we tap on that, our team's actually built out an Excel template that will enable you to upload everything in bulk. And so once you upload everything in bulk, in one full swoop, all of those list items will be added. And then at any given time, you could come back in here and edit and tweak specific things. And then I hit save. So within the custom list, depending on what content you have, I'd encourage you to consider using either the import from file or manually going through, depending on how much time you have and how much content you have. If there are any questions or maybe hesitations around using that import from file sync that we have, you can always reach out to our support team or utilize any of our support resources. And speaking of support, we actually, within the Builder interface, we have this chat with us box. I'm sure many of the people on this call, if you are an existing client, you've utilized this tool. This is a great resource that you can leverage as you're building out. Our support team has around a 10-second response time, so please feel free to leverage that as well as our support site. So a quick note while I'm on this page, you'll notice that as I make these changes on our Builder system, it's reminding me to publish your updates, and I can see this in the right-hand column. So if I click this button, Builder will send those changes to users' devices. So folks will receive those updates within 30 seconds, depending on their internet connection. So I'm gonna go ahead and click that. And then I get notified that I've made those changes successfully, and those changes will be reflective on the guide. So to transition a little bit and to tie back into what I was just saying with editing and pushing those updates. So being able to push those changes is vital for keeping your audience informed, especially when there may be changes to the schedule, even now more than ever, considering we're taking things virtual. So the schedule operates very similar to the list feature. I'm gonna pop back and open it up in here. So if I click on our main schedule, you can simply add sessions similar to that custom list where you could manually add by clicking new, adding your session name, a start time and end time. You can add some of these optional fields if you'd like. Again, you don't have to. We can note that because it has optional down here at the bottom. If you do have a lot of content, like I'd mentioned with the custom list items, In this example, we have over 1,000 sessions within this schedule. So it's advantageous to probably use our data import sync for the schedule. So we've done the same thing as we have with that custom list. We've actually created a schedule list that enables you to upload everything in bulk, and it will put everything in here in one full swoop, save you a little bit of time on the back end, and also it allows you to come back in here and edit and tweak things as you see fit. So in the guide, I'm going to move over to the app. You'll see that we've consolidated the schedule information into a folder. So this helps minimize the length of the menu and organize the information for your audience in a little bit easier to digest manner. So if I tap on schedule of information, we've created a folder. In here, you'll see your main schedule, which we were just in on the builder side of things. So this will give you kind of an overview of everything going on. If I pull down on the menu, if your event is multiple weeks long or it's a year-round guide, you'll be able to slide across the different months to see when events are taking place. If you just have a one-day event, that's fine. You'll just see that one day with the list of correlated events. So if you have multiple sessions, I strongly encourage you to use what we call scheduled tracks. In this guide, we've created a folder for those tracks based on topics. But you could easily organize the tracks based on maybe a department, a region, a team, or however you'd like. But if I click on this by topic, we've essentially tagged all of those sessions in that master schedule to specific topics. So in this example, I've clicked on meetings. So I'm only going to see sessions that correlate to the meeting's topic. So if there are specific sessions that your users want to attend, they can add those to what we call their My Schedule module. So this enables them to customize their own agenda and allows them to set reminders to make sure they don't miss anything. So right now, I'm going to pretend that I'm a marketing manager. I'm only focused on marketing events, and I want to attend this brand awareness. So in order for me to add this to my schedule, which you can see at the very bottom, I can toggle between the two. I just click that plus icon. It will alert me saying, hey, Mackenzie, do you want a reminder? I don't, thank you. And so I toggle over to my schedule and I can see those sessions that I've added. In advance of this, I added the keynote session, but say I want to remove that, I can unregister and I've removed it. So now taking a dive into the individual sessions themselves, you'll see that we can include a lot of information in here. So some of that information is tied to auxiliary resources. So speaker bios, presentation materials, surveys, live polls, and last but not least, the live stream link. So a lot of folks have asked, and I know in our demo GuideTalk last week, we had a lot of folks asking around what recommended services and streaming service that our guidebook recommending. So internally at Guidebook, we use Google Hangout Meet, which you can see linked here. But some of my clients have mentioned GoToMeeting, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and WebEx. Everyone's priorities are a little bit different, so make sure you choose a platform that works best for you. For example, some webinar platforms require a paid subscription, and others are free. So whichever service you end up landing on, you can easily drop that meeting link into your Events app in the session or even on that main menu of your guide. So on the right-hand side in Builder, within one of the sessions, you are able to see the different descriptions. We've got those tracks tagged in here. But if I want to see, where I can link to maybe the web conferencing tool, it's as simple as linking at the very bottom. We've used a web page link, which is simply inputting, copy and pasting that URL to whatever web conferencing service you're using. And that's going to come over looking like this at the very bottom. So if I were to click on Google Hangout, it'll take me to that site and enable the Hangout in itself. If I go back to my main menu, as I mentioned, you could easily incorporate your web conferencing platform on the main menu. So you'll see this webinar live stream. This could also be a great opportunity to link to maybe a recorded live stream session. But right now we've linked to a YouTube site, but you could simply link to Google Hangout, Zoom, or what have you. So pivoting gears a little bit, I want to focus on our last foundation, which is sponsorship visibility. So referencing back to that Interact feed, it's a great area to push sponsorship cards. Oops. You should have seen the Coca-Cola one on here. So this is where you can actually measure the number of clicks that the post received during the event. So this could be valuable for your sponsor to see post-event, see how many eyeballs and clicks that specific card has received. And on the back end, we can actually set these up similar to push notifications to go out a specific day and time. You can even have, if you don't have a sponsor, you can use this simply as a link to direct your users maybe to an internal portal, training resources, maybe your company website. It doesn't have to be tied or associated with a sponsor, but for this example, we've got it set up to be that way. Another option for your sponsors could be incorporate a menu item for the individual sponsor itself. So on this guide, we've got a sponsor highlight at the top called Google. It's just a custom menu item. We can add as much content in here as we'd like. So if we wanted to link it to maybe sponsored sessions or a feedback form or their website, we could embed all of that within this list item. And lastly, for sponsorship visibility, on the menu, you'll notice at the very bottom, we have a banner ad. And so this is an opportunity to give your sponsors, exhibitors, or other partners some visibility. And we can measure sponsorship impressions and clicks, basically capturing how many eyeballs saw that post or that reel. And this at the very bottom, if I were to click on Amazon, I'm taken to their website. So again, if you don't have sponsors, this could be a great opportunity to direct your users to a place that you want them to land on. And in order to set up the banner ad, at the bottom here in Builder, you'll see this Add Banner Ad button. If you click on that, it's as simple as coming in here, adding new banner ad, adding an image, a sponsor name, a link, and toggling on direct them to URL so that we land on their website. So digital packages that you create to support your partners for those in-person events will be very similar to these virtual events. So please be sure to reach out to us if you have any questions about putting those together. Our team is happy to assist with those sponsorship packages. Again, our platform is very flexible and customizable. So let us know how you can help, how we can help you guys design it according to your goals and needs. Additionally, the guide that we are demoing is a public guide. So if you'd like to download the guide, you can do so by searching in your designated app store to either Apple or Google Play and downloading the guidebook app to your phone. Once it's downloaded, you'll actually be able to toggle the very bottom to find guides and searching for virtual demo event guide. By doing so, you'll be able to play around with that guide that I had, using it as a resource in line with maybe some of the things you're working on internally. So it looks like we've got 2 minutes left. Apologies if I ran through a lot there. I wanted to make sure we got as much value-rich information we had. So let's see. It looks like we are extending the meeting a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and pop up our screen. All right, so a lot of these are guide building questions. Again, I appreciate you guys going over or answering or posing questions. So let's see. Do you cover video streaming as well in this demo? That was already answered. Is Interact unmoderated by default unless the admin chooses to moderate on the back end? Users can post to Interact without any sort of approval. We don't want to create barriers to slow your users down when they're trying to ask questions and engage with one another. Admins can moderate posts in Builder on the back end. So yes, this is after someone posts something. For one-to-one networking between participants, is Interact or Connect and Chat a better module to use? It really depends. We recommend enabling Interact as well as Connect and Chat so your attendees can choose. And based on their comfort level, they can either post something to the general public or go in and connect with an individual member and kind of have a one-to-one private conversation. Let's see. Can users create their own custom list profiles within the app, or is it something your team will have to build on their behalf with the back end. The guide builder would need to create the list. I mean, regardless of it being speakers, sponsors, or any other list. Then the guide builders can send a collaborate link to the person or team members who would like to add their own content to the page in the custom list. Please note that the collaborate link to edit a page of content is separate from the log in user profile. Let's see. While building the guide, how can an admin share previews with others who do not have back-end access or without publishing the guide? All a guide builder has to do is generate the preview and then share the preview codes with anyone they want to access a draft of the guide. The preview code is input in the app. Reviewers would not have access to Builder's backend site. It's also worth noting that the guide does not have to be published to generate a preview. Another question, is there a desktop version for this? So folks looking to access content via desktop computer can visit the cover page. The cover page is a web page with some content from the guide, including a schedule, maybe a few custom list items, maybe a value prop to downloading the guide. It is live updated as you work on the guide and builder. So it's already essentially built for you that you can push out to your users. So it looks like we're over time. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. Again, I appreciate you guys tuning in and posing a lot of great questions. And we are looking forward to being in touch with you all. Thanks, everyone.